August 7th, 2025. The skies over eastern Ukraine were still shrouded in mist when the ground suddenly began to tremble. From a captured airfield near Melitopol, Russia, unleashed a massive force, 50 T-90M tanks, each weighing nearly 50 tons, 70 BMP-3 armored vehicles, over 600 troops along with dozens of fuel trucks and ammunition carriers, carrying enough supplies to sustain a prolonged offensive. A steel convoy stretching more than 3 kilometers roared forward, its combined engines producing over 65,000 horsepower. The Kremlin believed this was an unstoppable show of power, a blow meant to intimidate Kiev into submission. But they had no idea they were sending their soldiers straight into a killing ground. In Kiev, President Zelensky had rejected Moscow's ultimatum, refusing to withdraw troops from occupied territories. Russia's answer came in fire and steel. Yet for Ukraine's commanders, the moment had arrived to launch a counterstrike unlike anything seen before. They knew if this convoy reached its destination, it would become a fortress, one that could spearhead an assault deep into central Ukraine, just over 100 kilometers from Dnipro. 6:12 a.m. inside a fortified underground command bunker in Dnipro. General Mikhailo Havlenko convened an emergency war council. On the wall, satellite images revealed every tank, every supply truck advancing at 28 kilometers per hour. There was no time for debate. The order came sharp and final. We strike now. We do not let them dig in. Immediately, a plan unprecedented in modern warfare was set in motion. Phase 1. Reconnaissance. 20 long-range drones shot into the sky, flying just below radar detection, transmitting high-resolution thermal images. Within minutes, every tank, armored vehicle, and fuel truck had been marked with pinpoint accuracy. Phase 2. Destruction. From their hangars, 80 low-cost suicide drones were launched, each carrying a 12-kilogram explosive charge, powerful enough to pierce armor or turn a fuel truck into a fireball. At the same time, dozens of Ukrainian fighters mounted on civilian motorcycles, converted into fast guerrilla war machines, raced forward, encircling the Russian formation. Gunfire engines and explosions blended into a deadly symphony. Drones slammed into ammunition trucks, fuel carriers erupted in towering flames, shockwaves rolling across the fields. Black smoke rose skyward, shards of burning metal tore through the air. A young Russian soldier stumbled out of the wreckage of an armored vehicle, only to vanish in the second fireball. Medical crews rushing to aid the wounded were themselves shredded by aerial mines and shrapnel raining down. In just minutes, what Moscow had believed to be unstoppable turned into catastrophe. The pride of Russia, the T-90M, now lay scattered across the battlefield as charred hulks of steel. The entire convoy of more than 120 vehicles was halted without firing a single shot. The question now, can Russia recover from such a devastating blow? And what tactics did Ukraine employ that left even NATO's war planners astonished? The answer lies in a bold counter-offensive where cheap drones and civilian motorcycles crushed a heavily armored column. This was not just a battle, it may well be the turning point that reshapes the entire course of the war. For Ukraine's commanders, this wasn't just a counterattack. It was a daring gamble, a bloody chess move designed to break a massive Russian offensive before it even began. Time was slipping away minute by minute, second by second, and every detail had to be calculated with ruthless precision. But in the smoke and fire, a plan unlike anything seen in modern warfare was about to unfold motorcycles as weapons. 06:28 a.m. 28. The wheat fields of eastern Zaporizhia. The quiet of the morning was shattered by the roar of 80 suicide drones taking to the skies. These weren't shiny NATO factory products, they were built in secret workshops for under $4,000 each. Yet every single UAV carried something powerful enough to rip through a Russian T-90M main battle tank, a 12-kilogram shaped charge copper-lined with a piercing power of 650 millimeters of rolled steel armor. Flying just 5 meters above the ground, they swept forward like a steel swarm invisible to Russian radar. 06:32 a.m. Russian gunners spotted them. Defensive fire erupted. BMP-3s spat streams of 30mm shells. PKM machine guns lit up with tracer rounds. Too late. The first drone slammed into the convoy. One struck the lead BMP-3. The blast was so strong, it hurled the 18-ton vehicle into the air and left it burning on its side. 3 more drones dived into Ural trucks loaded with over 5,000 mortar rounds. The explosion ripped a 200-meter hole through the column, instantly killing or maiming more than 40 Russian soldiers. And that was only the opening act. Phase 2, the flying mines. From a site 11 kilometers away, 40 quadcopters lifted off, each carrying a TM62 anti-tank mine. Every mine weighed 9.5 kilograms, packed with 7.5 kilograms of TNT dangling beneath the frames like airborne death traps. A Russian round hit one perfect. The pressure fuse triggered, detonating the mine mid-air, spraying lethal shrapnel across a 30-meter radius. One platoon was ripped apart in seconds. Another blast tore into infantry, scrambling to reload their RPGs. Every shot the Russians fired turned into their own execution. In less than 6 minutes, the Russian attack, 50 tanks, 70 armored personnel carriers, hundreds of men, was thrown into chaos. 11 vehicles burned, 2 fuel trucks exploded, turning the highway into a wall of fire. APCs veered into irrigation ditches. Tank crews abandoned their armor, believing they were under direct artillery fire. On the Ukrainian command screens, thermal images showed a once-ordered advance collapsing into a smoking graveyard. The Russian offensive stopped cold, and that was the signal for Phase 3. 06:41 a.m. From behind a low ridge came a new sound, an unending high-pitched roar, 200 motorcycle engines screaming in unison. Out of the haze, 200 military dirt bikes surged forward, each carrying 2 Ukrainian soldiers, a driver and a gunner. These weren't ordinary civilian bikes. Each weighed only 145 kilograms, but could accelerate from 0 to 60 km/h in under 5 seconds, climb 40-degree slopes, and snake through terrain that Russian armor could never reach. With a 14-liter fuel tank giving them a 300-kilometer range, they were the perfect daggers of high-speed guerrilla warfare. On their seats, the soldiers were armed to the teeth with light machine guns, anti-tank weapons, and the resolve to strike directly into an enemy already blinded and bleeding. Now the battlefield was no longer an advancing formation. It was a zone of death-burning armored vehicles glowing like torches, Russian troops scattered in panic smoke stinging the air. Ukraine hadn't just stopped Russia's push, they had written a new chapter in the art of war. This is 21st century warfare where a cheap drone can obliterate $1 million tank, and a motorcycle can become a steel cavalry blade slicing straight through enemy lines. What do you think about this unprecedented strategy? Share your thoughts below. And if you want more gripping analysis and dramatic frontline stories, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel now.